1961. My grandma was 11. Computers were already being developed and were of great importance to the world. And yet, many people suffered, not only from prejudice, but from exclusion and disrespect. They were discriminated, separated from others, and had little to no opportunities of higher education and better jobs. And when they could actually get these jobs, they were treated differently, as if they were less capable than others, as even when they worked harder. As in the real story of three incredible black women who worked at NASA in the 60s, representing the actual intelligence and commitment everyone, of all colors, can have. The space race was a phase of the Cold War where the United States and the Soviet Union fought for the human arrival to the moon. It lasted more than 25 years and completely changed our knowledge of space travel. In 1961, Yuri Gagarin had just been the first man in space, staying on Earth's orbit for 108 minutes and getting ahead of the US in the competition. But that's not the only piece of information you need to know before I move on. There's one more thing besides the space race that is so much more related to what I want to talk about. Segregation. More specifically, racial segregation. In 1961, less than 65 years ago, racism took form as racial segregation in the US. They were called segregated states, where black people could not share with white people the same restrooms, water fountains, schools and universities, among others. They couldn't vote, were divided from white people in public transportation, had their own smaller section in libraries, were prohibited by law to marry white people. In overall, it was a really horrible situation for black people who could only gain these rights many years later. And while this was all happening, three amazing black women showed they could be more. Dorothy Vaughan, an amazing and talented computer. At the time, they were the people responsible for making all the calculations. She worked along with other black people in the West Computing Group in NASA, but was not getting well paid according to her work. You see, the actual supervisor was sick for more than a year, and Dorothy was having to do all her work without getting paid for. It took much time for NASA to accept her at this new position, which already had taken a different role, monitoring the IBM's, International Business Machines. They were the newest computers at the time and almost occupied a whole room. Dorothy soon realized she was going to be replaced by these machines, as they could calculate on another level of speed. So she decided to learn by herself how to operate these machines, and later gather all this knowledge to teach her colleagues, who will soon got to the new positions. And later, Dorothy also teach white people from the East Computing Group too. Another very important figure is Mary Jackson. After working for 5 years in NASA, she realized she wanted something more. She had been recently added to the group of engineers working in the Langley Wind Tunnel, but to really take advantage of that position, she will have to become an engineer. And that was something tricky, because for her to get a diploma, she will have to take a course at a segregated university. She was literally being told it was impossible for her to take that position, but she made the impossible possible. And after many attempts and having to beg to the judge, she finally could attend the classes. Mary became the first black woman who got an engineering position at NASA. Lastly, the brilliant Katherine Johnson, another computing working at NASA. She one day got a temporary job of working in the guidance and control branch, a place only white men worked at the time. Do you know what was the first thing they did when she entered the room? Someone thought she was the cleaning lady and put a trash can in her hands. It was tough for her there. There were no colored bathrooms in the building, so she had to walk more than 800 meters to the next one. And every time she finished her calculations, she would have to throw them away, as briefings and new adjustments to the rockets were made, and women weren't allowed to the briefings. It took much time for her to spark this change in NASA, abolishing separated bathrooms and allowing women to attend briefings. And later, when John Glenn came to space, she was the one who made the go-no-go calculations, determining the exact locations of trajectory, orbit, and landing. She was one of the first people in the world who made these calculations, as there weren't any previous successful rocket launches by NASA who could orbit the Earth. Mary, Katherine, and Dorothy proved they could be more. But for that to happen, they had to pass through years of resilience and hard work, suffering to achieve something they couldn't even dream of. But did they really have to go through all that to achieve their dreams? Why? Mary went to the justice, Dorothy learned the whole subject on her own, Katherine had to be even smarter than their colleagues just to be recognized. Was all that effort necessary? Because none of the other white men in the room passed through this, and they got better recognition and even better salaries. Why did they have to prove they were exceptional just to justify their presence in those rooms? Why are still people treated differently just because of their gender and skin color? Is that fair? Thank you.